Poor girl sees mum's photo in a billionaire's wallet at a restaurant, and what he does next changes everything. The bell on the door jingled as Andrew walked into the diner. He didn't even look around. His phone was glued to his ear, his tense voice cutting through the noise of the room. "No, listen, I need those numbers by 3. Without them, the presentation won't happen." He walked straight to a corner booth by the window. He sat down without ceremony, tossed his leather briefcase onto the seat beside him, and continued talking. "Because the board won't accept an estimate, Mark. They want concrete data." The diner was busy during the lunch rush. The sound of cutlery clinking on plates mingled with low conversations and occasional laughter. The smell of comfort food drifted from the kitchen. It was a simple, welcoming place, the kind of place where everyday people ate lunch. Andrew was not an everyday person. At least, not anymore. The Italian suit, the expensive watch on his wrist, the genuine leather briefcase, everything about him screamed success. He had built an empire over the last few years. He worked 16-hour days, closed multi-million-dollar deals, and traveled the world, and he was always in a hurry. A waitress approached with her notepad in hand, but Andrew simply raised 2 fingers, indicating he needed another minute. She nodded and backed away, accustomed to rushed customers. Across the room, Amy held a tray full of plates. She was blonde, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, her light eyes tired from too much work. She wore the standard diner uniform, white shirt, black apron, and moved with the efficiency of someone who had been doing this for years. She hadn't seen Andrew walk in. There was no reason to look, just another guy in a suit, talking loudly on his phone, probably complaining about some problem she would never have. She served a table near the kitchen, picked up the empty plates from another cha, and went back for more orders. The routine was automatic. Serve, clear, write down, serve again. She didn't like the job, but she needed it. She needed to pay the rent. She needed to put food on the table. She needed to give her daughter a decent life. Andrew was still on the phone when the same waitress returned. "Black coffee and a chicken sandwich. Make it quick, please." The waitress jotted it down and left. Andrew didn't even look up. "Mark, I don't have time for this right now. Fix it, or find someone who will." He hung up with a heavy sigh, rubbed his face with his hands, and looked out the window. The traffic outside seemed calmer than the chaos inside his head. The project was late. The board was pushing. The investors were threatening to pull out, and he had to hold it all together on his own, as always. It was the price of success. A few minutes later, the sandwich arrived. Andrew ate on autopilot. He chewed without tasting, his eyes fixed on his cell phone screen, replying to emails while swallowing bites that were too large. He was in a hurry. He always was. The coffee cooled in the cup. He drank it in one bitter, cold gulp and kept typing. Another email, another short, direct reply. There was always something else. Someone was always waiting. When he finished, he wiped his mouth with a napkin, grabbed his briefcase, and reached for his wallet in the inner pocket of his blazer. He found it. He pulled it out with a brisk movement and placed it on the table, but the wallet was old, the leather worn, the stitching loose. It was the same wallet from years ago when he still didn't have money to buy a new one. He never replaced it, not out of attachment, just out of habit. When he opened it to get his card, one of the side compartments gave way. The wallet slipped from his hand, spun in the air, and fell to the floor with a dry thump. Everything spilled out: cards, bills, crumpled receipts, and a photo. Andrew bent down quickly, starting to gather the items. He cursed under his breath, annoyed with himself. Always the same old wallet, always the same problem. But before he could grab the photo, a small hand reached for it first. It was a little girl. She was about 6, with pale blonde hair falling to her shoulders and big, curious blue eyes. She wore a simple little dress with a butterfly design printed on the front. There was a juice stain on the hem, as if she had been playing before coming to the diner. She picked up the photo and smiled. "That photo is of my mommy." Andrew froze. The whole world stopped. He was still crouched, with a credit card in his hand, but he didn't move. He just looked at the girl. "What?" The girl turned the photo towards him, pointing with her little finger. Look, it's my mommy when she was younger." Andrew felt his chest tighten. He took the photo slowly, as if it might burn him, and it was Amy, without a doubt, younger, longer hair, a softer face. But it was her. The same photo he had carried for years, the only thing left from that time. He swallowed hard. "Your mother," his voice came out hoarse. "Where is she?" The girl jumped up and pointed to the other side of the room. "Over there. She works here." Andrew slowly stood up, following the direction of the child's finger. His heart was pounding too hard. His hands were shaking. He didn't even realize he was still holding the photo. And then he saw her. Amy. She was across the diner, holding an empty tray, talking to a customer. But something made her turn her head. Maybe she felt his gaze, maybe instinct. Her eyes met his, and the world locked up. Amy froze in place. The tray almost slipped from her hand. Her face lost all color. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. It was him. After all these years, here. In this diner, Andrew couldn't move either. He stood in the middle of the diner, the photo in his hand, staring at the woman he hadn't seen in years, the woman he had loved, the woman he had left behind. For an instant, neither of them breathed. The girl, oblivious to the tension in the air, ran to Amy. "Mommy, Mommy!" Amy blinked, coming back to reality. She looked down at her daughter, trying to hide the panic rising in her chest. "What is it, Chloe?" Chloe tugged on Amy's hand, dragging her toward Andrew. "He has a picture of you in his wallet." The girl's voice was loud, innocent, excited. Amy stopped a few feet from Andrew. Her jaw was clenched. Her light eyes, once surprised, were now hard as ice. Andrew didn't know what to say. He opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He just stood there, holding the photo like an idiot. Chloe looked at him, then at her mother, then back at him. "Do you know my mommy?" Amy answered before he could. "He's nobody important." Her voice was dry, cutting. Each word came out like a blade. Andrew felt the impact of the words like a punch to the gut. Chloe frowned, confused. "But he has your picture." "Chloe?" Amy spoke more firmly, holding her daughter's hand. "Go play in the back. Now." The girl hesitated, biting her lower lip. She wanted to ask more. She wanted to understand, but her mother's voice left no room for discussion. "Okay." Chloe gave Andrew one last curious look before running off, her sneakers noisy on the wooden floor. Only he and Amy remained. The diner continued operating around them, cutlery clinking on plates, low conversations, distant laughter. But there, between the two of them, was only heavy silence. Andrew tried to speak. "Amy, His phone rang, loudly, insistent, vibrating in his hand like a bomb. He looked at the screen. It was Mark again, probably with another invented emergency. Amy crossed her arms. "Answer it. You always did." Her tone was bitter, full of history, full of old hurts that had never healed. Andrew pressed his lips together. He wanted to ignore it. He wanted to throw the phone away, but habit was stronger. The pressure was greater. He answered, "Mark, this isn't a good time." "Andrew, the meeting was moved up. You need to come back now." "I can't." "Now, Andrew, Lawson is waiting." Andrew closed his eyes. Lawson was the lead investor. Missing that meeting meant losing the entire project, months of work thrown away, millions in losses. He looked at Amy. She didn't look away. She just stood there, arms crossed, waiting for him to do exactly what she expected. "Leave, as always." "I have to go," Andrew said, his voice low. Amy didn't answer. She just let out a breath through her nose, shaking her head slightly, as if she had been expecting exactly that. He put the photo back in his wallet, his hands shaking. He left money on the table, more than necessary, and grabbed his briefcase. "Amy, I'll come back. We need to talk." She let out a bitter laugh. "Talk? Sure." Andrew hesitated. He wanted to say something more. Anything. But the phone rang again in his hand, and the pressure in his chest became unbearable. He left. The diner door closed behind him with the same jingle of the bell. Inside, Amy stood still for a long moment. Her legs were shaking, her chest was rising and falling too fast. She gripped the tray against her body, trying to anchor herself to something solid. But it didn't work. She turned and walked quickly to the back of the diner, passing through the kitchen, ignoring the cook who called her name. She entered the small storage room where they kept the supply boxes and leaned against the wall. Her hands were trembling. She tried to take a deep breath, but the air wouldn't go in properly. Her chest was too tight. Her eyes were burning. Andrew. After all these years, here, in the diner, with her photo, she squeezed her eyes shut, trying to hold back the tears that threatened to fall. She couldn't cry. Not now. Not here. She needed to go back to the floor. She needed to work. But the tears came anyway. "Mommy?" Amy opened her eyes. Chloe was in the doorway, her head tilted, her eyes worried. Those blue eyes she knew so well. "Are you okay?" Amy quickly wiped her face and forced a smile. "I am, sweetheart. Just a little tired." Chloe walked in slowly and hugged her mother's leg. "Mommy, who was that man?" Amy swallowed hard. She knelt in front of her daughter and brushed the blonde strands away from her little face. "Someone who disappeared many years ago. But why did he have your picture?" Amy didn't know what to answer, how to explain to a 6-year-old child that this man had been everything once, that he walked away, that she was left alone. "It's complicated, my love." Chloe frowned, dissatisfied with the vague answer, but she didn't press the issue. She just hugged her mother tighter, resting her little head on her shoulder. Amy closed her eyes and held her daughter against her chest. She took a deep breath, smelling the scent of children's shampoo, trying to calm down. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Andrew drove in silence. His hands gripped the steering wheel, but the grip wasn't out of anger or frustration. It was out of pure shock. He barely paid attention to the traffic. His mind was stuck on that moment in the diner. Amy. After all those years, she was there, working in a simple diner, serving tables, wearing a uniform. The woman he had loved. The woman he had left behind when he went after his dreams. He never imagined he would find her again like this. So in fact, he never imagined he would find her again at all. Andrew pulled the car over to the side of the road and turned off the engine. He sat there, still, staring into space. His phone rang again. Mark. The meeting. The project. But he didn't answer. He took out his wallet and pulled out the photo. He looked at Amy's young face. Her smile back then. The lightness she had. He had carried that photo for years. He never had the courage to throw it away. And now she was here. Back in his life. In the most unexpected way possible. Andrew ran his hand through his hair, confused. What was he going to do? Go back there, try to talk to her? She had made it very clear that he was nobody important, but he had to try. He needed to explain. He needed something. He rested his head against the seat and closed his eyes. The image of Amy came back, her gaze, cold, hard, full of pain, and the girl, Chloe, her daughter. Andrew sighed deeply. He hadn't expected this. He wasn't prepared. But now there was no turning back. Amy was there, and he wasn't going to run away again. Andrew returned the next day. Same time. Same corner booth, by the window. But this time, he wasn't on the phone. He wasn't carrying the leather briefcase. He wasn't in a hurry. He walked in slowly, looked around, and found Amy across the room. She was serving a table, smiling politely at an elderly couple. But when she turned and saw Andrew standing in the doorway, the smile vanished. Her body stiffened. Andrew walked to his usual table and sat down. He didn't take his eyes off her. Amy took a deep breath, handed the plates to the customers, and walked over to him. Her steps were firm, determined. She stopped beside the table, arms crossed, her gaze icy. "You disappeared for years. What do you want now?" Her voice was low, controlled, but laden with years of resentment. Andrew looked at her, swallowed hard. "I'll stay until you're willing to talk." Amy let out a humorless laugh. "Talk? Now you want to talk?" "Amy, no." She cut him off, raising her hand. "First, you have no right to show up here and demand anything from me." Andrew didn't look away. "I'm not demanding. I'm just asking. Amy pressed her lips together. She wanted to scream. She wanted to tell him to leave. But they were in the middle of the diner, with customers all around, and she couldn't make a scene. Then sit there as long as you want. But I'm not talking to you. She turned her back and walked away. Andrew stayed there, alone at the table, watching her leave. He didn't order anything. He didn't call the waitress. He just sat, waiting. The minutes passed slowly. Amy continued working, taking orders, carrying plates, clearing tables, but she felt his gaze the whole time, heavy, insistent. She tried to ignore him, tried to pretend he wasn't there, but it was impossible. A customer called Amy over to ask for the check. She walked to the table, forced a smile, and handed over the receipt. The woman paid, left a small tip, and left. Amy cleared the table, collected the empty cups, and headed back to the kitchen. As she passed Andrew's table, she felt the weight of his stare. She didn't look. She didn't speak. She just walked past. Andrew remained seated. She felt the irritation grow. Why wouldn't he leave? Why did he have to stay there? As if he had some right. But he didn't move. And Amy realized he was serious. He was going to stay. Another half-hour passed. The lunch rush began to slow down. The tables slowly emptied. But Andrew remained there, quiet, doing nothing. Another waitress approached Amy, curious. "That guy in the corner booth, is he waiting for someone?" Amy pretended disinterest. "I don't know, it doesn't matter. He hasn't ordered anything. He's been here for over an hour. Let him be." The waitress shrugged and went back to work. Amy stayed busy, but Andrew's presence weighed like a stone in her chest. Across the room, near the kitchen door, Chloe was watching everything. She was sitting on the floor, a drawing pad on her lap and colored pencils scattered around. It was her little corner, the place where she stayed while her mother worked. Chloe looked at Andrew. He was alone, not eating anything, not doing anything, just sitting. She remembered him. The man in the photo, the man her mother said wasn't important, but he had come back. Chloe bit her lip. Curious. Why was he here? She looked at her mother. Amy was busy, serving another table, her back to her. Chloe looked at Andrew again, and she made a decision. She got up, picked up her drawing pad, and walked over to his table. Andrew was looking out the window when he noticed her presence. He turned his head and saw Chloe standing beside the table, holding the pad against her chest. He straightened up in his chair. "Hi." Chloe took a small step forward. "Hi." They were silent for a moment. Andrew didn't know what to say. Chloe seemed to be assessing him, deciding if she could trust him. Then she pointed to the empty chair across from him. "Can I sit down?" Andrew hesitated. He looked around, searching for Amy. She was still facing away. "Does your mom let you?" Chloe shrugged. "She's busy." It wasn't exactly permission, but Andrew didn't have the heart to send the girl away. "All right, you can sit." Chloe climbed onto the chair, placed the pad on the table, and opened it to a page full of colorful drawings. "Look, I drew this one today." It was a drawing of a house, simple and with square windows, a door in the middle, and a yellow sun in the corner. There were two figures in front of the house, one tall, one small. Andrew looked closely. "It's nice," Chloe smiled, satisfied. "That's me, and that's my mommy." Andrew felt something clench in his chest. "Do you live alone?" Chloe nodded. "Yeah, just the two of us." She turned the page, showing another drawing. This time it was a school. There were children drawn with simple lines, all holding hands. "This is my school. I have friends there." Andrew smiled slightly. "Do you like school?" "Sort of." Chloe made a face. "The teacher is nice, but we have to sit still for a long time." Andrew chuckled softly. "Yeah, I remember that." Chloe tilted her head, curious. "Did you go to school when you were a kid?" "I did. Everyone does." "And did you like it?" Andrew thought for a moment. "Sometimes I liked math, but I didn't like sitting still much." Chloe giggled. "Just like me." She turned another page, showing a drawing of a dog. "I wanted to have a dog, but Mommy said we can't because the apartment is too small." "What kind of dog did you want?" Chloe thought. "Serious. A big one. Very fluffy. One that I could play with in the park." Andrew nodded. "Big dogs are cool, but they're a lot of work. I know, Mummy said that too. Chloe continued showing the drawings one by one, telling stories about each one. Andrew listened carefully, asking questions, laughing at her stories. And this one? Oh, that's from the day we went to the park. I played on the swing and Mommy watched me. Do you like going to the park? Very much, but Mommy works almost every day, so we don't go often. Andrew looked at the drawing, two figures holding hands, Chloe and Amy. And what do you like doing most at the park? Chloe thought, biting her lip. Swinging, and I also like running. There's a big field where we can run a lot. Sounds like fun. It is. Have you ever been to a park? Andrew smiled. I have. When I was a kid, I went a lot. And what did you do? I played ball, climbed trees, that kind of thing. Chloe's eyes widened. You climb trees, isn't that dangerous? It is a little, but when you're a kid, you don't think about it much. Chloe laughed. Mommy won't let me climb trees. She says I might fall. Your mum is right. You have to be careful. It was easy to talk to Chloe. She was spontaneous, curious, full of energy. And Andrew couldn't stop looking at her eyes. Blue, just like his. Chloe turned another page. This one is my friend Lily. She sits next to me at school. Are you friends? Yes. We play together at recess. She's nice. It's good to have friends. Chloe nodded, serious. Mummy says friends are important. Andrew smiled. Your mum is right. Across the room, Amy finished serving a table and turned to get more orders, and froze. Chloe was sitting at Andrew's table, talking to him, laughing. Amy's blood ran cold. She dropped the tray on the counter and walked quickly to the table, her heart pounding. Chloe. The girl looked up, the smile still on her face. Hi, Mummy. I'm showing him my drawings. Amy forced her voice to be calm. You should be in your corner. But I finished drawing. Chloe, now. Amy's tone left no room for discussion. Chloe realized the smile vanished. She slowly picked up her pad and got down from the chair. Bye, she said softly to Andrew before leaving. Andrew watched the girl walk away, head bowed, and felt a pang of guilt. Amy stood beside the table, arms crossed, looking at him with a mixture of anger and fear. Don't go near my daughter. Her voice trembled slightly at the end. Andrew raised his hands, defensive. She came to me. I didn't call her over. It doesn't matter. Amy leaned forward, her voice low and firm. You are not part of her life, and you won't be. Andrew swallowed hard. Amy, I just wanted to... I don't want to know what you wanted. She cut him off. You lost that right a long time ago. Amy turned her back and walked away before he could reply. Andrew was left there, alone again, feeling the weight of her words. But he didn't stand up, he didn't leave. He stayed seated, as he had promised. The rest of the afternoon passed slowly. Amy kept working, avoiding looking at his table. But she felt Andrew's presence the whole time, heavy, uncomfortable. Chloe stayed in her corner, drawing in silence. From time to time, she looked at Andrew. He smiled gently. She smiled back, secretly. Amy saw, and the fear grew. Chloe was a child, innocent, craving male attention because she had never had a father around, and Andrew was exactly the type of person a child would like, polite, kind, interested. Amy knew her daughter would grow attached, too quickly. And when Andrew left again, because he always left, Chloe would be hurt. Amy couldn't let that happen. When the diner rush slowed down, it was almost late afternoon. Most of the tables were empty. Only a few customers remained, finishing their coffee. And Andrew, still sitting, still waiting. Amy grabbed a cloth and began wiping the empty tables, slowly approaching his table. When she got close, she stopped. The diner is closing. Andrew looked at her. I'll come back tomorrow. Amy tightened her grip on the cloth. Why? What do you want from me? Andrew hesitated. Then he said, sincerely, I just want a chance to explain. Explain what? That you left me. That you chose your career over me. I already know that, Andrew. I lived through it. I know, and I know there's no excuse, but there is no but. Amy cut him off. You made your choice, and I made mine. We moved on. It's over. Amy, go away, Andrew. Her voice was tired. "Please, just go away." Andrew looked at her for a long moment. He saw the fatigue in her face, the pain, the scar he had left. He wanted to insist. He wanted to stay. But he saw that he wouldn't get anything today. So he stood up, picked up his coat, and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he looked back one last time. Amy was standing in the middle of the room, her back to him, her shoulders tense. Chloe was sitting in her corner, watching everything with her big eyes. Andrew left. The bell jingled as the door closed behind him. Amy let out the breath she was holding and closed her eyes. Chloe appeared beside her, holding her drawing pad. "Mommy, did he leave?" Amy opened her eyes and looked at her daughter. "He did." Chloe bit her lip. "He was nice." Amy knelt in front of her, holding her small shoulders. "Chloe, listen. That man. He won't stay, understand? He'll leave again, and I don't want you to get hurt." Chloe frowned. "But he came back today." "I know, but that doesn't mean he'll stay." Chloe didn't answer. She just hugged her mother, squeezing tight. Amy closed her eyes and held her daughter against her chest. She needed to protect Chloe, even if it meant keeping Andrew away, forever. Andrew came back on the third day, and on the fourth and on the fifth, always at the same time, always at the same table, always waiting. Amy continued to ignore him, but Chloe did not. The girl was too curious to stay away, and Andrew, even keeping a respectful distance, always smiled when she walked nearby. The other waitresses started to notice. "Who is that guy who comes every day?" one of them asked Amy during a break. "Nobody important," Amy replied, curtly, but it was a lie, and she knew it. On the sixth day, Andrew walked into the diner with a small bag in his hand. Amy saw him from afar and felt her stomach clench. She knew what was coming. He sat down at his usual table. He placed the bag on the seat beside him. Chloe was in her corner, drawing as usual. But when she saw Andrew arrive, her eyes lit up. Amy noticed, and she tensed up. She continued working, but didn't take her eyes off her daughter, waiting, knowing it would happen. 10 minutes passed. 20. Chloe kept looking at Andrew's table, curious, but seemed to be holding back. Amy almost felt relieved, but then the lunch rush slowed, and Chloe couldn't resist anymore. She got up and walked over to his table. Andrew smiled when she approached. "Hi, Chloe." "Hi." She looked at the bag, curious, but didn't ask directly. Andrew picked up the bag and slowly opened it. "I brought something for you." "But only if your mum says it's okay." Chloe turned to look for Amy. She was across the room serving a table, but she felt her daughter's gaze. Amy stopped what she was doing and walked over to them, her heart pounding faster. She stopped beside the table, arms crossed. "What is it?" Andrew took a book out of the bag. It was a children's book, brightly colored cover with drawings of forest animals. "It's just a book. I thought she might like it." Amy looked at the book. It wasn't expensive. It wasn't extravagant. It was simple, the kind that sold in any small bookstore. But still, it was a gift, and that bothered her. "You don't need to bring her anything." "I know. But I wanted to..." Amy pressed her lips together. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to tell him to put it away and leave. But Chloe was already looking at the book with sparkling eyes. "Can I keep it, Mommy? Please?" Amy hesitated. She looked at Andrew. He didn't look away. He was waiting for her permission, respectfully, not trying to overrule her. Not trying to buy the girl with expensive things, just offering something simple. Amy sighed. "All right. But that's all. I don't want this to become a habit." Chloe smiled, took the book, and hugged it against her chest. "Thank you." Andrew smiled gently. "You're welcome." Amy turned and went back to work, but the discomfort remained. The next day, Andrew brought something else, a box of colored pencils, 12 colors, nothing extravagant, nothing that screamed money. Chloe was radiant. "Look, Mommy, now I have more colors." Her eyes sparkled with genuine happiness. Amy looked at Andrew. He was sitting, waiting for her reaction. "You don't need to keep doing this." "I know, but she likes to draw." "I thought it would be useful." Amy didn't know what to say. It wasn't an expensive gift, it wasn't excessive, it was just thoughtful, and that made her even more uncomfortable, because Andrew was being genuine. She could see it, and she didn't know how to handle it. A few more days passed. Andrew kept showing up, always polite, always respectful, always bringing small things for Chloe. A new drawing pad, with thicker, better paper for coloring, a pack of animal stickers, a coloring book with drawings of butterflies, a set of colored pens, simple but new. Nothing exaggerated, nothing that looked like an attempt to buy the girl's attention. Just simple gifts, the kind a child would like. The kind Amy wished she could afford to give but often couldn't. And Andrew always handed them to Chloe in front of her, always respecting, always waiting for permission, never hiding, never trying to override Amy's authority. Chloe began to wait for him. Every day when Andrew walked in, she looked to see if he had brought something, and he always did. Not every day, but often enough to keep her interested, enough to create a bond. Amy watched everything with a heavy heart. She didn't want her daughter to grow attached, but it was already happening. Chloe talked about him at home. At night, while Amy cooked dinner in the small apartment, Chloe showed her new drawings. Andrew gave me a new book today. Andrew said I draw well. Andrew is nice, isn't he, Mommy? Amy didn't know how to answer. Sometimes she just mumbled a distracted, uh-huh. Other times she tried to change the subject, but Chloe always went back to talking about him, as if Andrew was already part of her life, and that terrified Amy. One day, after almost 2 weeks, Amy confronted Andrew. He was sitting at his usual table, alone, waiting as always. Amy approached with a cloth in her hand, pretending to wipe the table next to him. "Why are you doing this?" Andrew looked at her. "Doing what?" "Bringing her gifts, staying here every day. Why?" Andrew was silent for a moment. Then he replied honestly, "Because I want to know her, and because I want you to give me a chance." Amy let out a weary sigh. "Andrew, this won't change anything. You can't just show up and expect everything to be okay." "I know, but I have to try." Amy shook her head. "You don't understand. I can't let her get attached to you. Because when you leave..." "I'm not leaving." Amy stopped, looked at him. "What?" "I'm not leaving, Amy. Not this time." She gave a humorless laugh. "You said that before. I know, and I was wrong. But now it's different." Amy wanted to believe him. She wanted so badly to believe him, but she couldn't. "You said your career was more important, that you had to go, that it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity." Andrew looked down. "I did say that. And what changed? You still have the company. You still have the career. You still have all those urgent meetings. What changed is that I saw you again, and I saw her." Amy felt her chest tighten. "That's not enough. I know, but it's a start." Amy closed her eyes for a second. "You don't understand what I went through, Andrew. You don't understand what it's like to be alone, what it's like to raise a child alone." "Then tell me." Amy opened her eyes. "What?" "Tell me, let me know. Let me understand." Amy shook her head. "It's no use. You'll never truly understand." "But I can try." Amy turned her back and left, before the tears came. Andrew was left there alone, feeling the weight of her distrust. But he didn't give up. He kept coming back. One afternoon, almost at the end of the second week, Chloe was sitting at Andrew's table, showing him the new drawings she had made with the colored pencils he gave her. "This one is my teacher, see? She has short hair and wears glasses." Andrew looked at each drawing carefully. "It looks like her. You paid attention to the details." Chloe smiled, proud. "The teacher always says I draw well." "It's true. You draw very well." She turned the page. "And this is the park. It has the swing set and the slide. Did you go there recently?" "No, it's been a while." "Mommy is always working." Chloe spoke without resentment, just as a statement of fact. Andrew nodded, without commenting. Chloe continued turning the pages, showing every drawing, telling the story behind each one. A drawing of the school, a drawing of a butterfly, a drawing of ice cream. Then she turned to a new page, and Andrew stopped. It was a drawing unlike the others, a girl, blonde, smiling, on a purple bicycle. The drawing was simple but full of details. The bike had a basket in the front. There were colorful flowers on the ground, and the drawn girl had her arms open, as if she were flying, free, happy. Andrew looked at the drawing for a long moment. "Is that you?" Chloe nodded, excited. "It is. I dreamed I had a purple bike, very pretty, and I was riding it all by myself without falling. It was a really great dream." Andrew smiled. "Sounds like fun." "It is. I've always wanted a bicycle." Andrew looked at her. "Do you have a bicycle like this?" Chloe shook her head, the smile fading a little. "No, Mommy doesn't have money to buy one. But it's okay, I can draw it." The answer was so natural, so innocent, as if it were normal not to have the things she wanted, as if that's just the way it was. But it cut Andrew to the core. He looked at the drawing again, at the smiling girl on the bike she never had. "But you wanted to learn how to ride a bike?" Chloe nodded hard. "Very much. The girls at school have bikes. They say it's really cool, that you can go far and feel the wind on your face." Her eyes sparkled just imagining it. "And you've never ridden one? Not even once?" "No. Mommy said when we have money, she'll buy it. But it hasn't happened yet." Chloe spoke without sadness, just acceptance, as if it were normal to wait. As if it were normal not to have. Andrew felt his chest tighten. "And what else would you do if you had a bicycle?" Chloe thought, serious. "I would go to the park, and I would ride really fast, and I would show everyone that I can ride by myself." She smiled, imagining the scene. "And Mommy would see me and be proud." Andrew looked at her, at the blue eyes full of hope, at the innocent smile, at the girl who dreamed of something so simple, and he felt something break inside him. Across the room, Amy was watching the conversation. She couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw Chloe's expression. She saw the way she showed him the drawing, excited, and she saw Andrew's expression change. Amy knew that look. It was pain and guilt. She felt her heart clench, because she knew what Chloe had shown him, that drawing of the purple bike, the drawing her daughter had been making for months, the dream Amy couldn't make come true. No matter how much she worked, no matter how much overtime she took, there was always another bill, there was always another expense, and the bike was put off until later. Always until later. Chloe returned to her corner sometime later, still happy, holding the drawing pad. Andrew remained alone at the table. He didn't eat anything. He didn't order anything. He just sat there, staring into space, lost in thought. Amy finished clearing a table and walked over to him. "What did she show you?" Andrew looked at her. "A drawing." "Of what?" He hesitated. "Of a bicycle." Amy closed her eyes for a second. She knew exactly which drawing it was. Chloe had been drawing that purple bike for months, ever since she saw a girl at school riding a new bicycle during recess. "Did she ask you for a bike?" "No. She just said she always wanted to learn." Amy crossed her arms, defensive. "I'll buy one when I can afford it. It's just hard right now. I'm not judging, Amy. But you're thinking," Andrew sighed. I didn't know." "Didn't know what?" "That life is hard, that I work every day and still barely make ends meet, that some months I choose between buying food and paying the electric bill." Amy's voice trembled at the end. Andrew looked at her, seeing the pain in her light eyes. "Amy, you don't know anything, Andrew. Nothing about how it was, about how it is." She turned to leave, but Andrew spoke. "Then let me know." Amy stopped. She turned slowly. "What?" "Let me know, let me understand, let me help." Amy shook her head. "I don't need your help. I know you don't need it. But I want to give it." Amy looked at him for a long moment. She saw the sincerity in his eyes. She saw the regret, but she also saw the man who walked away, and she was afraid. "I can't trust you, Andrew. I know, but let me prove that you can." Amy didn't answer. She just turned and left before he saw the tears in her eyes. Andrew was left there alone, looking at the place where Chloe was sitting. The drawing of the purple bike was still on his mind, and her voice. "Mommy doesn't have money, but I always wanted to learn." Andrew closed his eyes. He had built an empire. He had millions in the bank. He could buy anything. But his daughter, the girl who was likely his even if he wasn't absolutely sure yet, didn't have a simple bicycle. Because he wasn't there. Because he had chosen something else. Andrew opened his eyes and looked at the ceiling. He couldn't change the past, but he could change the present, and he was going to start with that bicycle. At the end of the day, when the diner was almost empty, Andrew stood up to leave. He walked past the corner where Chloe was putting the colored pencils back in the box. She looked up and smiled. "Bye, Andrew." "Bye, Chloe." He paused for a second, crouching in front of her. "You would really like to learn how to ride a bike." Chloe's eyes widened. "Very much," Andrew smiled. "Then one day I'll teach you." Chloe was speechless. "Really? Really?" Amy appeared behind her daughter, her expression tense. "Andrew, I know." He stood up, looking at Amy. "Only when you allow it." Amy didn't answer. Andrew looked at Chloe once more, smiled and left. And Chloe stood there, looking at the door, her eyes shining with hope. "Mommy, he's going to teach me how to ride a bike." Amy closed her eyes. She knew she was losing control of the situation. Chloe was already attached. And Amy didn't know how to protect her daughter from what might come, because deep down a part of her also wanted to believe Andrew. But she was too afraid to try, afraid of getting hurt again, afraid of seeing her daughter get hurt, afraid that in the end Andrew would do the same thing he did years ago, choose something else, and leave, leaving them alone again. 3 weeks had passed since Andrew started frequenting the diner, 3 weeks of constant presence, of small gifts, of conversations with Chloe. And slowly something changed. Chloe no longer waited for permission to approach him. She went naturally, as if Andrew were part of her routine. Amy still kept her distance, still distrusted him, but she no longer forbade it. She just watched, tense, waiting for the moment when everything would fall apart. On a Thursday afternoon, business was slow. Few tables were occupied. Chloe was sitting with Andrew, showing him a new drawing. "This one is my friend Lily. It's her birthday next week." Andrew looked at the drawing carefully. "Are you going to the party?" "I am. Mommy already bought the present." Andrew smiled. "So that's great." Chloe tucked her leg under her on the chair, getting more comfortable. "Did you go to many parties when you were a kid?" "A few, but I was pretty quiet. I didn't really like parties." "Really?" Chloe's eyes widened. "Everyone likes parties," Andrew laughed. "I was different." Chloe tilted her head, thoughtful. "How did my dad go to parties?" The world stopped. Andrew felt the air leave his lungs. Chloe continued, innocent, unaware of the impact of the question. "Lily always talks about her dad. He takes her everywhere. I keep wondering if my dad was like that." Andrew swallowed hard. Do you know your father?" Chloe shook her head. "No, I've never met him." The answer came out naturally, simply as if it were just another fact of her life. But every word cut Andrew like glass. "Has your mother never told you about him?" "Not much. She gets sad when I ask, so I stopped asking." Chloe shrugged, as if it wasn't important. But Andrew saw it. He saw the curiosity in her eyes, the unanswered question. "And would you like to meet him?" Chloe thought for a moment. "Sometimes Lily says it's cool to have a dad, that he plays with her and tells funny stories." She looked at Andrew. "Did you know your dad?" "I did." "Was he nice?" Andrew hesitated. "He was complicated. But yes, he was nice." Chloe smiled. "Oh, then you were lucky." Andrew felt his chest clench. Lucky. He was lucky, and Chloe was not. Because of him. Across the room, Amy saw the conversation. She saw Andrew's expression change, and she knew. She knew Chloe had asked. Her heart raced. She dropped her tray and walked quickly to the table. "Chloe, go to your corner." The girl looked up, surprised. "Dad, but Mommy, now." The tone left no room for discussion. Chloe slowly picked up her drawing pad and left, confused. Amy stood beside the table, staring at Andrew. "Don't talk about that with her." Andrew looked up. She asked, "It doesn't matter, don't talk about it." "Amy, I'm serious, Andrew. Don't talk about her father." Andrew stood up too. "Why not?" She has a right to know. She's 6 years old. She doesn't need to know anything yet. But she wants to know. Amy crossed her arms, her voice tense. And what were you going to tell her? That her father left before she was born? That he chose his career over her? Andrew felt the blow. Amy, I didn't know. But you know now. And even so, you have no right to tell her anything. She turned to leave, but Andrew gently held her arm. Wait. Amy stopped, but didn't look at him. Let go. Amy, please. We need to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Yes, there is. Andrew let go of her arm, but didn't back away. You're hiding something from me. Amy finally looked at him, her eyes hard. I'm not hiding anything. Yes, you are. I know you are. Andrew, tell me the truth. Amy gave a humorless laugh. The truth? You want the truth now? I always have. Lie. If you wanted the truth, you would have stayed. You would have called. You would have asked how I was. Andrew looked down. Amy continued, her voice trembling. You left, disappeared, and now you show up here, years later, wanting the truth. I know I messed up, but there is no but, Andrew. You chose, and I paid the price. She turned again to leave. Andrew took a step forward. She's mine, isn't she? Amy froze. The diner continued operating around them. Low conversations, clinking cutlery. But between them, only silence. Amy turned slowly. What? Andrew looked at her, his eyes full of painful certainty. Chloe, she's my daughter. Amy felt tears burn her eyes. It doesn't make a difference now. Yes, it does. It makes all the difference. Amy shook her head. No. You lost that right. Amy, please, I deserve to know. She deserves to know too. Amy closed her eyes, trying to hold back the tears, but she couldn't. Andrew took another step. Tell me the truth. Please. Amy opened her eyes, and everything she had held back for years came pouring out. You want the truth? Fine. I'll give you the truth. She took a deep breath, her voice shaky but firm. You left for ambition, for the company, for your career. You said it was an opportunity you couldn't miss. Andrew didn't look away. I did say that. And you left me alone. Amy felt the first tear fall. A month later, I found out I was pregnant. Andrew's world spun. He already knew. Deep down, he already knew, but hearing it was different. Amy, I tried to call you, I tried to find you, but you had changed your number. You had completely disappeared. Her voice broke. I was alone, pregnant, scared, not knowing what to do. Andrew felt his chest tighten so much he could barely breathe. My mother helped me. She let me live with her. She supported me. She was the one who stayed with me when Chloe was born. Amy wiped her face with the back of her hand, and then she got sick. Cancer. She fought for 2 years, but she didn't make it. Andrew closed his eyes. After she died, I was completely alone. Just me and Chloe, a baby who needed everything. And I had no one. Amy looked at Andrew, her eyes red. I went through things you will never understand. Sleepless nights, jobs that paid next to nothing, bad apartments, bills I couldn't afford to pay. Her voice was full of pain. There were days I didn't eat so I could feed her. There were days I cried in secret because I didn't know how I would pay the rent. Andrew felt his own tears welling up. Amy, And yes, she cut him off, her voice firm. Chloe is your daughter. Silence fell between them. Andrew stood still, processing, feeling everything crumble inside him. Chloe, his daughter. The girl he had watched grow over the last few weeks. The girl who smiled at him, who showed him drawings, who dreamed of a purple bicycle. She was his. And he wasn't there, never was. Amy wiped her face again, trying to compose herself. Now you know, happy? Andrew shook his head, his voice coming out hoarse. No, I'm not happy. I'm broken. Welcome to the club. Amy took a step back. I need to get back to work. Amy, wait. No, Andrew. I've said enough. She looked at him, her eyes full of pain and anger. I am so hurt. You have no idea how much. Andrew swallowed hard. I know. And I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't change anything. It doesn't bring back the years I spent alone. It doesn't erase the nights I cried. It doesn't pay the bills I couldn't afford. She took a deep breath. I don't even know if I'll ever forgive you. The words cut Andrew like a blade. He wanted to say something, anything, but there were no words good enough. Amy turned and left, returning to the floor. Andrew stood still, alone in the side of the diner. His legs were shaking, his chest hurt, his mind was spinning. Chloe was his daughter. He had a 6-year-old daughter, and he wasn't there. He didn't see her born. He didn't hold her for the first time. He didn't see her first steps. He didn't hear her first words. He missed everything, because of his career, because of his ambition, because of choices that seemed so important at the time. Andrew leaned against the wall and closed his eyes. Everything he had built, all the success, all the money, none of it mattered now, because he had lost what really mattered: his family. Across the diner, Amy was in the back, trying to calm down. Her hands were shaking. Her chest was rising and falling fast. She had held that in for so long, years of anger, years of resentment, years of pain, and now it had all come out. Chloe appeared at the door, worried. "Mommy, are you okay?" Amy quickly wiped her face and forced a smile. "I am, sweetheart." Chloe walked over and hugged her mother's leg. "Were you crying?" "Just a little. But it's over now." Chloe looked at her with those blue eyes, just like her father's. "Did Andrew leave?" Amy looked at the door. "I don't know. Will he come back tomorrow?" Amy didn't know how to answer because now everything had changed. Andrew knew the truth, and she didn't know what he would do with it. Later, when Andrew finally left the diner, the sun was already setting. He got into his car and sat there, still without starting the engine, his hands on the steering wheel, his head bowed. Chloe was his daughter, and Amy was too hurt to forgive. He had ruined everything, and now he needed to figure out how to fix it, if it was even possible. Andrew looked at the diner through the car window. He saw Amy serving a table. He saw Chloe in her corner, drawing his daughter. He took a deep breath. He couldn't change the past. But he was going to do everything differently from now on. Even if Amy never forgave him, even if it took years, he was going to be there for Chloe and for Amy, because that's what he should have done from the start. Andrew started the car and drove away, but this time he wasn't going to disappear. This time he was going to come back every day. Until he proved he deserved a second chance. Andrew didn't show up the next day. Amy tried not to think about it, tried to convince herself that she was relieved, that it was better this way. But Chloe asked 3 times, "Where's Andrew? Isn't he coming today? Did he leave?" And each question hurt Amy a little more, because she already knew the answer. Of course he left. That's what Andrew did. He always did. Amy served tables on autopilot, taking orders, carrying plates, clearing tables, but her mind was elsewhere, thinking about the conversation the day before, the confession, the pain in Andrew's eyes when she confirmed that Chloe was his daughter. But pain didn't change anything. Pain didn't pay bills. Pain didn't erase 6 years of loneliness. On the second day, as Amy was serving lunch, the bell jingled, and he walked in. But he was different. Andrew wasn't wearing a suit. He wore dark jeans and a simple, light blue shirt. He didn't carry the leather briefcase. He wasn't on the phone, and he had an expression on his face that Amy had never seen before. Determination. Purpose. He walked straight to her, not diverting to his usual table. "I need to talk to you." Amy crossed her arms, defensive. "I'm working. I know, but it's important." There was urgency in his voice, but also respect. Amy looked around. Business was slow. A few tables occupied, but nothing the other waitresses couldn't handle. She sighed. 5 minutes. They went to the back of the diner, away from the customers, to the same spot where they had talked before. Amy leaned against the wall, her arms still crossed. "What do you want?" Andrew took a deep breath. He seemed nervous, but resolute. "I spent the last 2 days thinking. I didn't sleep well. I couldn't work. I only thought about you. And Chloe." Amy didn't reply. She just waited, her jaw clenched. Andrew continued. "I can't change what I did. I can't go back in time and make things right. I can't erase the 6 years I wasn't here. He looked directly at her. But I can change everything from now on. Amy shook her head. Andrew, let me finish. Please. She closed her mouth, but her expression remained hard. Andrew took a step closer. I don't want to move in with you. I don't want to invade the space you've built. I don't want to pressure you or force you into anything. Amy frowned, confused. Where was he going with this? Andrew continued, his voice firm. But I am going to be Chloe's father, every day. For real present? Amy felt her chest clench. What does that mean? Andrew pulled a folded sheet of paper from the back pocket of his jeans. It means I've already adjusted my schedule, rearranged meetings, cancelled trips. I spent the last 2 days sorting everything out. He opened the sheet. It was a printed calendar, with times marked in blue pen. Every day, 7:30 in the morning, I take Chloe to school. 3:30 in the afternoon, I pick her up. 4 o'clock, I help her with homework. 6 o'clock, I bring her back to you. Amy looked at the paper, unable to believe what she was hearing. Andrew, you don't have to. Yes, I do. He cut in, but without aggression. I lost 6 years. I won't lose another day. He took something else out of his pocket, a white envelope. I enrolled Chloe in a better school, not too far from your apartment. Good facilities, qualified teachers, extra activities included. Amy's eyes widened. You did what? The enrollment is paid. The school supplies too. New backpack, notebooks, pencils, everything. She can start on Monday. Amy felt anger rise in her chest. You can't just decide that on your own. She's already in a school. I know, but that school is far. You waste almost an hour on the bus every day, and the facilities aren't good. She deserves better. And who are you to decide what she deserves? Andrew looked at her, straight into her eyes, without flinching. I am her father. Silence fell heavily between them. Amy felt tears burn her eyes, but held them back tightly. You can't show up after 6 years and change everything like this. It doesn't work that way. I'm not changing everything. I'm just doing what I should have done from the start. Andrew put the envelope back in his pocket and took out one more thing, a small key attached to a simple keychain. I created a children's space at the foundation, a safe place with toys, books, educational games. There is a trustworthy person to look after the children. Amy shook her head, disbelieving. Thought if you need to work and I can't pick up Chloe for some reason, she can stay there, safe, well cared for. Amy looked at the key, at the calendar, at the envelope. You organized all this in 2 days? Yes. Why? Andrew took a step closer, his voice becoming lower, more intense. Because I won't be like my father. I won't be absent. I won't let her grow up thinking she's not important. I won't let her wonder why her father isn't there. His voice trembled slightly. I know you don't trust me. I know you have every right to hate me, but I'm not asking you to trust me now. I'm going to prove it, with actions, every day. Amy looked at him, her eyes teary. What if you give up? What if in a month you get tired of all this and disappear again? I won't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Andrew spoke with absolute conviction, because for the first time in my life, I know what really matters. It's not the company, it's not the money, it's not the contracts. He looked toward the door where Chloe was probably in her corner. It's her. And you. The family I should have taken care of from the beginning. Amy looked away, trying to process everything. It was too fast, too organized, too perfect. And that scared her, because if Andrew was being sincere, it meant change. It meant sharing responsibility. It meant not being alone. And Amy didn't know if she was ready for that. Amy, Andrew spoke softly, taking another step. I know you're afraid, I am too. But let me do this. Let me be her father. Amy wiped her face with the back of her hand, trying to control herself. I don't know if I can. You don't have to decide everything now. Just let me start. Let me prove I'm serious. Amy took a deep breath, feeling the weight of 6 years on her shoulders, the weight of all the decisions she made alone, of all the sleepless nights, of all the fears. Before she could answer, a high-pitched voice cut through the air. Andrew! They turned at the same time. Chloe was standing in the back doorway, her blue eyes shining like stars. "Joe, you came back." She ran, her sneakers hitting the floor, and threw herself into his arms. Andrew caught her in mid-air without thinking, holding her tightly against his chest. "I did come back." Chloe pulled back a little, placing her small hands on his shoulders, looking right into his face. "I thought you had left, like—" She stopped, not finishing the sentence. But Andrew understood, like everyone else, like the father she had never met. Andrew felt his chest tighten so much he could barely speak. "No, I'm never leaving." Chloe smiled, relieved. Then, without thinking, with the cruel innocence of children, she said something that changed everything. "Daddy, are you going to pick me up today?" The world stopped. Amy froze, the blood running cold in her veins. Andrew froze, his eyes wide. Even Chloe seemed to realize what she had said, because she was quiet for a second, looking from one to the other. Andrew looked at Amy, seeking permission. She was pale, her eyes wide, her mouth slightly open, but she said nothing. She didn't deny it. She didn't take her daughter out of his arms. Andrew looked back at Chloe. He saw the hope in her eyes, the vulnerability, and he smiled, even with the tears burning in his own eyes. "Every day," Chloe's eyes widened. "Really? Really? I'll take you to school tomorrow morning and pick you up in the afternoon." "Every day." Chloe hugged him again, tightly, burying her face in his neck. "You promise?" Andrew held her against his chest, closing his eyes. "I promise." Amy watched everything, motionless. She saw her daughter in Andrew's arms. She saw the way he held her carefully with love, as if she were the most precious thing in the world, as if nothing else mattered. And something broke inside Amy. Not the pain, not the anger, but the loneliness of carrying everything alone for 6 years, the loneliness of being both mother and father at the same time, the loneliness of making all the decisions, the loneliness of having no one to share the burden with. And now, for the first time, someone was offering help, for real. With a plan, with commitment. Chloe pulled away from Andrew and ran to Amy, her eyes sparkling. "Mommy, Andrew is going to pick me up from school every day." Amy looked at her daughter, at the pure happiness on her little face. Then she looked at Andrew. He was standing, waiting, not pressuring, not demanding, just waiting, respecting her space. Amy took a deep breath. "All right." Andrew's eyes widened. "What? You can take and pick her up, but with rules." Andrew nodded quickly, almost desperately. "Any rules, whatever you want." Amy crossed her arms again, trying to maintain control, even with tears in her eyes. "You don't make decisions without talking to me first. The enrollment in the new school. We'll talk about that. You don't decide alone." "All right, I'm sorry, I should have talked to you first. You don't disappear. If one day you can't pick her up, you tell me in advance. You don't leave her waiting." "Understood. I will never leave her waiting." Amy took a step closer, her voice coming out firmer. "And if you hurt her in any way, Andrew, I will take you out of her life. Understand?" Andrew looked at her, completely serious. "Understood." Amy felt the tears come again, but couldn't hold them back this time. "I'm still very hurt, Andrew. Very, and I don't know if I will ever forgive you." "I know, but—" Her voice broke. "Hi, Chloe deserves to have a father." Andrew nodded, his voice coming out low and hoarse. "Thank you, I promise I won't disappoint you." Amy looked away, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Chloe pulled her hand. "Mommy, are you crying?" "I'm not, sweetheart, just tired." Chloe looked at Andrew, then at Amy, and smiled the purest, most innocent smile. "Now I have a real daddy." Amy closed her eyes, holding back the tears tightly. Andrew knelt in front of Chloe, getting down to her level. "And you are going to have the best father I can be. I promise." Chloe hugged him again, tight. Amy watched, her heart clenching, divided between fear and hope. She was still afraid, she was still angry, she was still hurt. But for the first time in 6 years, she was not alone. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough for now. Andrew stood up, holding Chloe's hand. So Tomorrow morning, 7:30. I'll pick you up here, okay? Chloe jumped for joy. I'll be ready. Andrew smiled. Then he looked at Amy one last time. Thank you. Truly. I won't disappoint you. Amy didn't answer. She just nodded, not trusting her own voice. Andrew left, and Chloe ran back to her corner, too excited to stand still. Amy stood there, alone in the back of the diner. Her hands were still shaking, her chest still hurt. But something had changed. The loneliness she had carried for years felt a little lighter, and she didn't know if that was good or terrifying. Probably both. But Chloe was happy, and maybe that was the most important thing. The first week was strange. Andrew showed up the next day, exactly at 7:30 in the morning, in front of the apartment building where Amy and Chloe lived. Amy came down with her daughter, tense, watching his every move. Chloe was radiant, jumping from one foot to the other. "Good morning, Daddy," Andrew smiled, despite his tired eyes. "Good morning, Chloe," he looked at Amy. "Good morning." Amy just nodded, her arms crossed. 6 o'clock, not a minute later. 6 o'clock, I promise. Amy knelt in front of Chloe. "Behave, okay? And if anything happens, you call me." "Okay, Mommy." Chloe quickly hugged her mother and ran to Andrew's car. Amy stood on the sidewalk, watching the car drive away. Her heart was heavy, her mind full of doubts, but she allowed it, because Chloe deserved it. Andrew drove Chloe to school, He helped her out of the car, held the new backpack he had bought, simple but sturdy, with butterfly designs that Chloe loved. "Are you going to pick me up?" "I am. 3:30. I'll be here." Chloe smiled and walked into the school. Andrew stood there for a moment, watching her disappear through the gate. His daughter, going to school. And he was there. For the first time, at 3:30, he was back in front of the school. Chloe ran out when she saw the car. "You came." "I said I would." On the way back, Chloe talked about her day, about science class, about recess, about her friend Lily. Andrew listened to everything, attentive, asking questions. When they arrived at the apartment, he parked but didn't get out. "Is your mom home?" "No, she works until later." Andrew hesitated. Amy hadn't mentioned this. "Then who stays with you?" "Mrs. Rosa, the neighbor." Andrew made a mental note. He needed to talk to Amy about this. But for today, he followed the plan. "Let's do this. We'll go to a park nearby, do homework, have a snack, and then I'll bring you back." "Sound good?" Chloe nodded, excited. At the park, Andrew bought a simple sandwich and a juice for Chloe. They sat on a bench and he opened her notebook. "Show me what homework you have." Chloe showed him math, some simple addition. Andrew helped, patient, explaining when she didn't understand. She got a few wrong. He didn't scold her. He just showed her again. When they finished, Chloe ate her snack and played a little on the playground. Andrew stayed there watching, seeing his daughter run, laugh, play, simple things, but things he had missed for 6 years. At 6 o'clock sharp, he rang the doorbell of Amy's apartment. She opened the door, still in her diner uniform. Hi. Brought her back. Chloe ran inside. "Mommy, I did all my homework." Amy looked at Andrew, surprised. "She did?" "She did. Math. She did very well." Amy didn't know what to say. "Thank you." Andrew nodded. "I'll pick her up again tomorrow, same time." "All right." He left without entering the apartment, without asking to enter, without crossing the line. And so the days went on. Every day, Andrew showed up. He took Chloe to school, picked her up on time, helped her with homework, prepared her snack, took her to the park or to the library, or simply stayed with her at a coffee shop, talking. And always, he brought her back to Amy on time. He never invaded her home. He never pressured her. He just kept his promise. In the second week, there was a parent-teacher meeting at the school. Andrew showed up, Amy did too. They sat side by side, listening to the teacher talk about Chloe's development. It was awkward, uncomfortable, but Andrew took notes. He asked questions. He was involved. And Amy she saw that he was trying. For real. In the third week, Chloe had a science project. Andrew helped her build a model of the solar system. They spent 2 afternoons on it. When Chloe presented it at school and got a good grade, she called Andrew excited. "Daddy, I got an A." Andrew smiled on the other end of the line. "I knew you could do it. Congratulations." Amy watched everything from afar. She saw her daughter changing. Chloe was more confident, happier. She talked more, she smiled more. And Amy couldn't deny it. Andrew was being a good father, but it still hurt. One night, after Chloe went to sleep, Amy was sitting alone in the small living room of the apartment. Her phone rang. It was Andrew. "Hi, sorry to call so late. I just wanted to confirm if it's okay for me to pick up Chloe earlier tomorrow." "There's a new park she wants to check out." Amy hesitated. "That's fine." "Thank you." Silence. Then Amy spoke, her voice low. "Andrew." "Yes?" You're doing a good job." On the other end, Andrew was silent for a moment. "Thank you, that means a lot." Amy hung up, and for the first time in weeks, she felt something different. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But maybe hope. In the fourth week, Andrew was helping Chloe with homework when she asked, "Daddy, why didn't you live with us before?" Andrew stopped. He looked at her. "Because I made a very big mistake. I left before you were born, and I didn't know you existed." Chloe frowned. "But now you know. Now I know. And I'm never leaving again." Chloe smiled. "You promise?" "I promise." She went back to her homework, satisfied. Andrew took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the promise. But it was a promise he would keep, no matter what the cost. At the end of the month, Amy was closing the diner when Andrew showed up, alone. "Chloe is with Mrs. Rosa. I just wanted to talk to you." Amy crossed her arms. "About what?" "About the school. I know you didn't like the idea of changing it, but I wanted to show you the place. No pressure. Just for you to see." Amy hesitated. "When?" "Tomorrow morning. Before work." Amy thought, then nodded. "All right." The next day, Andrew took Amy to see the school. It was better, indeed. More structured, more resources. Amy saw the classrooms, met the teachers, and had to admit it was better. "She can start next week if you want." Amy looked at him. "You already paid for everything, right?" "I did. But if you don't want to, I respect that." Amy sighed. "All right, she can go." Andrew smiled. "Thank you." Amy looked at him, serious. "I'm still very hurt, Andrew. I know. And I don't know if I'll forgive you. I know that too." Amy looked away. "But you are being a good father to her. And I can't ignore that." Andrew felt his chest clench. "Thank you." Amy turned to leave, but stopped. "Keep doing what you're doing, Chloe. She's blossoming." And she left. Andrew stood there alone. And for the first time in a long time, he felt like he was on the right track. It wasn't forgiveness, it wasn't reconciliation, but it was a start. And for now, it was enough. The following Saturday, Andrew sent a message to Amy. "Can I pick up Chloe today? I have a surprise." Amy hesitated. Saturday was their day, the only day she didn't work. The day she set aside to spend with her daughter, do housework, maybe go to the market together. But Chloe, seeing the message over her mother's shoulder, jumped up excited. "Please, Mommy, please." Amy looked at her daughter, at the blue eyes shining with expectation, and sighed. "All right. But bring her back before dinner. I promise." At 10 in the morning, Andrew parked in front of the building. Chloe ran down the stairs, Amy right behind her, trying to keep up. "Chloe, slow down." But the girl was already on the sidewalk, looking for Andrew. When they got close to the car, Chloe stopped. The trunk was open, and inside there was a bicycle. Purple. Exactly like in the drawing, with a basket in the front, training wheels on the sides, colorful ribbons on the ends of the handlebars that fluttered in the wind. Chloe was speechless, unable to talk. Amy also stopped, her heart clenching. Andrew got out of the car, smiling. "So, what do you think?" Chloe finally found her voice. Is it for me?" "It is." "How about we go to the park and you learn how to ride?" Chloe screamed with joy and threw herself into his arms, almost knocking him over. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Andrew laughed, holding her. "You're welcome." Amy stood on the sidewalk, watching the scene. Her chest was tight, because it was the bicycle she could never afford, the dream she couldn't make come true, the one she promised, but never had the money to deliver. And Andrew had done it, in just a few weeks. She didn't know whether to feel gratitude or inadequacy, probably both. Andrew looked at Amy over Chloe's head, as if asking for retroactive permission. "Is this okay?" Amy nodded, not trusting her voice. "It is. Do you want to come along?" Amy hesitated. She hadn't planned on going out. She had laundry to do, dinner to prepare. But Chloe let go of Andrew and ran to her. "Come on, Mommy, please. You have to see." Amy looked at her daughter, at the blue eyes shining with pure happiness, and she couldn't refuse. All right. The park was crowded that Saturday morning. Whole families, children running and shouting, dogs barking, people having picnics on the lawn. Andrew carefully took the bicycle out of the trunk and led it to an open area, away from the heavy traffic. Chloe was nervous and excited at the same time, hopping from one foot to the other. "What if I fall?" Andrew knelt in front of her, getting down to her eye level. "If you fall, I'll help you get up, and we'll try again as many times as it takes. But will it hurt?" "It might hurt a little, but you're brave. I know you can do it." Chloe looked at the bike, then at Andrew, biting her lip. Then she nodded, determined. "All right, I'll try." Andrew smiled and helped her get on. He adjusted the seat to the right height, showed her where to put her feet on the pedals, where to hold the handlebars. "I'm going to hold the seat. You just need to pedal and look straight ahead. I won't let you fall." Chloe put her hands on the handlebars, her small fingers gripping tightly. "Promise?" "I promise." Andrew held the back of the seat firmly. "Ready?" "Ready." "Then go." "Pedal." Chloe started pedaling slowly, her whole body tense. The bicycle wobbled. Andrew ran alongside, holding tight, maintaining balance. "That's it. You're doing great. Keep going. Look straight ahead." Chloe pedaled a few feet, trembling, but managing. Amy watched from afar, sitting on a bench under a tree, her hands clasped in her lap, seeing her daughter try. Seeing Andrew run alongside her, patient, encouraging, not letting her fall. And she felt something strange in her chest. Not anger, not pain, but something different, something she couldn't name. Chloe pedaled to the end of the open area and stopped, putting her feet on the ground. "Did I do it?" Andrew was breathless, but smiling. "You did." "You were great," Chloe smiled, proud. "Again?" They tried again and again and again. Half an hour passed. Chloe started to get the hang of it, pedaling more confidently, holding the handlebars better, looking ahead instead of down. Andrew was still holding on, but began to let go gently, testing her balance. "You're riding by yourself now." "I'm just touching the seat." "Really? Really? You're doing great." Chloe looked ahead, concentrated, her tongue sticking out as she always did when she was focusing. Andrew let go completely, and Chloe pedaled, alone, 15 feet, 30, 50, until she looked back, realized Andrew wasn't holding on, and lost her balance. The bicycle tipped sideways. Chloe fell onto the soft grass. "Chloe!" Andrew ran to her. Amy jumped up from the bench, her heart racing, ready to run too, but Chloe was already sitting up, laughing. "I fell." Andrew knelt beside her, checking if she was hurt. "Are you okay?" "I am," but there was a small scratch on her knee with a tiny spot of blood. "Let me see." Andrew carefully wiped it, using a tissue he had in his pocket. "Did it hurt?" "A little, but not much." Andrew smiled, relieved. "You are very brave." Chloe looked at the scratch, then at Andrew. "Can I try again?" "Of course you can." Amy sat back down on the bench, her heart still pounding. Another half hour passed. Andrew continued running alongside Chloe, holding, letting go, encouraging. "Look ahead, that's it. Keep pedaling." Chloe fell 2 more times, but she always got up, wiped the dirt off her hands, and tried again. And then it happened. Chloe pedaled. Andrew held on, ran alongside and let go, and this time Chloe kept going, pedaling. Alone. The wind in her blonde hair, her face lit up with pure happiness. She rode all the way around the open space, made a wide turn, managed to brake on her own with her feet, and stopped. She turned to Andrew, her eyes wide with surprise and pride. "I did it! I did it all by myself!" Andrew ran to her and picked her up, spinning her around. "You did it!" "I knew you could," Chloe laughed, hugging him tight, her little legs dangling in the air. Then she let go and ran to Amy. "Mommy, I did it! Daddy taught me!" Amy knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. "I saw, sweetheart. You were amazing." Chloe pulled back, the words tumbling out in her excitement. "Did you see when I rode all the way around? Alone? Without anyone holding me?" "I did. You were very brave." Chloe smiled, radiant, and ran back to the bicycle. "I'm going to do it again." Amy stayed there, kneeling on the ground, watching her daughter get back on the bike. Andrew approached, his hands in his pockets, still trying to catch his breath. "She's incredible." Amy stood up, wiping the dust off her pants. "Chummy, she is." They stood there side by side, watching Chloe pedal in circles, laughing to herself. "Free." "Thank you," Amy said quietly. Andrew looked at her, surprised. "For what?" "For the bike, for teaching her, for being here." Andrew swallowed hard. "You don't need to thank me. I should have done this a long time ago. I should have been here from the beginning." Amy didn't answer. She just kept watching Chloe, seeing her daughter blossom. In the late afternoon, when the sun was already setting and painting the sky orange, Andrew drove them back. Chloe was exhausted, but happy, talking non-stop about the bike the whole way. When they arrived at the building, Andrew helped Chloe out and took the bicycle out of the trunk. "I'll leave it down here in a safe spot. Tomorrow, we'll chain it up properly." "Thank you, Daddy." Chloe hugged him, tightly. "It was the best day of my life." Andrew felt his eyes sting. "Mine too." Chloe let go and ran toward the building entrance. "I'm going upstairs to draw a picture of the bike." Amy stood there beside Andrew on the sidewalk. Silence, the noise of the city around them, cars passing, people walking. Then Andrew spoke, his voice low. "I know I hurt you." Amy looked at him. Andrew continued, looking at the ground. "And I know you might never forgive me. I understand. I deserve it. I deserve the anger, the resentment, everything." He looked up. "But I want to be here for her." Pause. "And for us." Amy felt her chest clench. "Andrew, I'm not asking you to forgive me now. I'm not asking to get back together. I'm not asking for anything more than what you're already giving me. I'm just saying that I want to try, to rebuild, however we can, for as long as it takes." Amy took a deep breath, feeling the tears burn. "I'm still very hurt. I know. I don't know if I'll forgive you." "I know that too." Amy looked at the building, where Chloe had gone in. "But Chloe needs you, and you are being a good father." Andrew felt something release in his chest. "Thank you." Amy looked at him again, her eyes red. "Don't disappoint me, Andrew. Please, I can handle anything, but don't do this to her." "I won't. I promise. Never again." They stood there for another moment. Then Amy turned to go inside. "Amy," she stopped. "Thank you for giving me this chance. I know I don't deserve it, but thank you." Amy nodded and walked in, slowly climbing the stairs. Andrew stood there, alone on the street. But he didn't feel lonely. For the first time in years, he felt like he was part of something. A family. Half an hour later, Amy was in the kitchen preparing dinner when Chloe ran in, her bare feet hitting the floor, holding a piece of paper. "Mommy, look what I made." Amy wiped her hands on the dish towel and took the drawing, and she stopped. It was a simple drawing, made with the colored pencils Andrew had given her. 3 figures holding hands, a blonde woman, a blonde girl, a man. Each one had their space on the paper. They weren't clustered, but they were together, connected by their hands. Below, in large, shaky letters, it was written, "My family, it's good to have you both." Amy felt the tears come, hot and uncontrollable. "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Chloe smiled, proud. Did you really like it? I loved it. Amy knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly, hiding her face in her neck to conceal her tears. Mommy, are you crying? Just a little. But it's because I'm happy. Chloe hugged her back. I'm happy too. Amy held her daughter for another moment because the drawing showed the truth. They weren't a perfect family. They weren't a couple. They didn't live together. Amy was still hurt, still afraid, still hadn't forgiven. But they were a family. Rebuilt. Real. Slow. Honest. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. That night, Amy put the drawing on the refrigerator, fastening it with a magnet, and every time she looked at it, she felt something different. Not forgiveness, not yet, but hope. And for now, it was enough. The following Sunday, when Andrew came to pick up Chloe to spend the afternoon together, she ran out and grabbed both of their hands. Let's go for a walk, the three of us. Amy and Andrew looked at each other, hesitantly, but Chloe pulled their hands, insistent, her eyes shining. Please, Amy sighed but smiled slightly. All right, and they went. The three of them, walking together through the park, Chloe in the middle, swinging her arms, holding both their hands, not as a couple, not as a perfect fairy tale ending, but as a rebuilt family, real, slow, honest, and full of possibilities. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.